Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Into the Storm podcast. Thank you to VIP Mortgage for allowing us to do this podcast in this awesome studio. And we are sponsored by Bison Ventures, Informed Mortgage Lending, which is it is the mortgage company that I work at and partially own. And thank you to Trey over here, who is my nephew, who does the podcast engineering, and to my sister, Trisha Madrid, who not only works at Bison Ventures as our marketing director and does business development, but she is also the podcast producer. So thank you over there. So those are those two people over there.
That. Good looking crowd over there.
Yeah, there we go. So we try to keep it a family affair.
Yeah, I like
here
that.
At Bison Ventures /VIP. We haven't really talked about that, by the way, but we can talk about that a different day.
Let's do it.
So my guest today is he is the entrepreneur of the Paradise Valley area, I would say. He's
the entrepreneur
of our I don't know, our industry, so to speak. That I think a lot of people don't really know the true ins and outs of our friend here, Michael Banovac. He is with EXP.
Yep.
So he is a traditional realtor. Agent. He is also a developer. And you do multifamily, commercial, and residential, or just
mostly residential.
Okay.
We do a lot. We do multifamily as well, as far as in the rental space.
Okay.
4-plex, 8-plex, subdivision development, etc.
But a lot of you know him as the man about town. The guy who's always traveling, but even though he really isn't, the Millionaire Date Doctor guy too.
That's right.
And I think that a little bit of, we talked about this a little bit earlier too. It's this whole this stigma maybe that you may have, or this people think that the guy that you think you might be. Even my sister, she's like, who is this guy? She, not in a negative way, but she doesn't know who you are.
Knows.
So she looks around and she goes through Facebook and she sees, and she's like, wait a second. I was like, I really know the guy, so I know that he's not the guy that's always at Positano and Mykonos and traveling and doing all this fancy stuff. He is just a normal dude that's dealing with the same BS that we're all dealing with.
100%.
That just happens to be focused and maybe had some early success in his life and knows a little bit more maybe than some people his own age. So is that a good
assessment? Clueless, but got some success early.
and doesn't mind people thinking that he's uber successful.
I'll take it.
So let's just talk a little bit about your I guess your upbringing. So you're from here.
Yep.
Your mom was a realtor, right?
My mom was actually a runway model for 18 years.
Okay.
And so that's how she met my dad. She was one of the top models here in Arizona and did a lot of stuff in San Francisco, a lot of print ads, runway, etc. And she actually modeled with Christy Brinkley.
Oh, wow.
So she was, in her time, she's still a very
Christy
beautiful
Brinkley
woman.
is a very way beyond your years, though. So for everybody,
same age as my mom.
Vacation, was it?
Yeah, Vacation. She's driving the Ferrari.
Yeah. Christy Brinkley.
What's your mom's name?
Betsy. Yeah. So, I mean, she was a realtor as well, but she was more in the design space. So she actually founded the store here called Kreis Collection. I don't know if you ever heard of KREISS. She was the manager there for 12 years till about 2003, and then she got married, and he didn't want her to work anymore. So, but she has a real eye in interior design and understands salesmanship at a high level.
So she was doing that. Your dad was a builder?
Dad was a builder, consummate entrepreneur. My dad's story is interesting. I mean, he was the first of our family to graduate from college, raised on a farm in Watsonville, California, which is kind of like the armpit of California, the breadbasket, so to speak, where everyone's a farmer. And he just had a big dream, and he was smart enough to, he went into the Army, played poker, made a lot of money in the Army as like a loan shark, ironically enough. And then he took that money, came back to San Francisco after Vietnam. He wasn't deployed, but he was a medic in the reserves. And I did a lot of real estate deals in San Francisco. And he had a mentor his first 5 years, and he really taught him the power of real estate. And where his finances really took a turn for an unbelievable way is he met a couple presidents of banks in San Francisco. And I don't know if you remember at the time, like, you guys ever seen Cocaine Cowboys on HBO?
Yeah. Great.
So in that time, there was so much money in these banks because people were bringing drugs in through San Francisco port. And so they were just giving him 100% loan to value on all of his deals, and he was making a fortune.
Right.
I mean, I think by the time he was 33, 34 years old in 77, he was worth like $12 million back then, which in today's money, that's like $150 million.
Jesus.
Big difference, yeah.
And that was in San Francisco?
In San Francisco, yeah.
Okay, so what brought him to Phoenix?
Well, he got a divorce.
Oh,
that's whatever
and
brings
mom stayed there. Gotcha.
No, that was his first. That was his first wife. So what brought him to Phoenix is he got into multifamily, and Phoenix was booming. I mean, in the '80s, it was a hot spot, and Arrowhead Ranch was being built. All that stuff on the west side. Biltmore was big. Paradise Valley was kind of not really going. Scottsdale was nothing. And he got into it right around the wrong time when the savings and loan crisis hit. And that really hurt him, because what he did is, before he moved over here, he sold a lot of his apartment projects that he'd built. And his deal was, put 10% down, I'll carry 90% of the loan at 10%. And so as long as those NOIs were strong, right, he was making a fortune. The problem was Reagan enacted a tax law that changed all of that. The apartment values went to hell in a handbasket, kind of what Powell's doing now with interest rates, right? And so all of his notes became null and void. He's like, yeah, you can have it back. We don't want it anymore. So his, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month that was coming in just overnight went to zero. And that was a big lesson for him, because by 94, he had to start all over again. Here is a guy on top of the world, thought he had it all. And the one thing he taught me, which I think is important for the listeners to understand, is money's great.
Yep.
It gives you options. The problem is too many people in an industry equate self-worth to net worth. And he says, you cannot do that. They are not intertwined, and your worth as a human being has nothing to do with what you have in the bank. And I thought that's a good point, actually.
Especially nowadays, right?
Yep.
Where everything's about what you have.
Yep.
And
a lot of life lessons, So, I mean, he made and lost 3 fortunes in his life. And I was a part of it for a couple of them. And I learned a lot at a young age about, how to manage money, what to look at when you're investing money, try to be prudent, try to take risk when the opportunity is present. But, you just have to learn from a lot of their mistakes, And unfortunately, none of us are geniuses. We all think we are in a bull market, but when it turns, the real geniuses come out.
Did you have like a privileged upbringing then, or were you part of like some of the ups and downs?
It was really interesting, actually. So I was lucky because my parents got a divorce when I was 4, and I actually thought it was a great thing because they had a pretty good relationship. None of them bad-mouthed each other. It really affected me in relationships going forward, but in a positive and negative way. In the positive way, I had 2 households. I understand, kind of like you, the charisma of like interacting with people, how to get a gift from dad, a gift from mom, that kind of thing. And but it hindered me because I didn't understand commitment, and I didn't understand the power of being in a relationship for life.
Yeah.
That taught me a lot in life. But as far as finances, my dad was broke when I was 4. My parents got a divorce, right?
Yeah.
Money is the leading cause of divorce. And then around 7, 8, 9, they both started doing well again. So as I grew up, my lifestyle went up.
Okay.
And then when I went to college back in 2010, 2011, actually, what was that? 2011, I went to college. He was on a big upswing, because I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Danny Hendon?
Yeah.
So, Danny and my dad were partners. And so at one time before '08, they owned all of City North and all that stuff, 450 acres, all in the north.
Oh, wow.
Big deal.
Yeah.
And so it was at the time the largest private land deal. I think they paid $170 million for that parcel.
Yeah.
And they got the money from Scott Coles, which is Mortgages Limited. And if you guys know local history, Scott Coles unfortunately killed himself. It's a terrible thing because he was one of the premier hard money lenders here in town. Again, he got over leveraged. 08 hit him. He didn't know what to do with himself. And so what happens is, they were always going for the home run, right? They were going for the grand slam. They were going for the big hit. And timing when it comes to big hits is so slight. Like you ever see Any Given Sunday with Al Pacino?
Oh yeah.
It's like it's a game of inches, right? One step too left too early, you don't make it. And that's exactly what real estate is. It's a game of moments, right? And you can hit it out of the park, but to do that exactly the same way a second time is very, very difficult. And that's what people don't understand, right? So what happened is when I went into college, my life was going way up. I mean, I was driving a Porsche convertible, Carrera, had this sexy place in Tempe Town Lake. I'm like, shit, I'm living La Vida Loca here, man. I am the man.
Right.
And then soon enough, I remember I went into an estate planner, and this guy told me, he says, do you know by the time you're 25 years old, based on your dad's current net worth, you're going to inherit $40 million? I'm like, shit. That's fantastic. That's right up my alley. I said, this is great. Instead of working in an In-N-Out Burger, I can actually do some deals.
Right.
Well, of course, it didn't come to fruition. A couple months later, September 08 hits and just boom, decimated.
Yeah.
And so within a year's time, we sold his $5 million house in PV on the top of the hill, Bentleys, Range Rovers, and he and I moved into $1,000 a month rental. After I graduated college, I was still driving my Porsche because I owned it free and clear. And we were literally splitting rent in like a 900 square foot apartment.
Wow.
So we went from the top to the bottom. And it was an interesting part in my life because I saw a pivot, right? I had the opportunity. I'm like, what the F am I going to do now? I'm like, holy shit. Like, I'm screwed. The economy's in ruin. Do I work in the private sector? Do I get a job? Or do I work with my dad? And I remember I was going to go into private wealth management. I'm like, this is a great idea. Like, manage other people's money, take a cut. I'm going to learn how to get rich. And then my dad said, we're going to get in the flipping business. I got a couple $100,000. My buddy's throwing at me. Let's get into this. And I said, well, let me think about it. Do I make $70K now out of college, which is a big deal?
Yeah.
In 2011, like that was unheard of. Or do I take the risk and bet on the guy that gave me everything in my life? And I'm like, I got to bet on my dad. He did it once, he'll do it again.
Yeah.
And it was tough because I remember 2011, 2012 out of college, my first year out of college, I made $900 for the first year. $900.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, oh shit, like I gotta be hawking my Rolexes and all this stuff. Like this is getting bad.
Yeah.
We were eating at home, like rice and beans. Like it was like Chipotle, like spread out over a couple days. It was like, this is scary. And a lot of people don't know this story.
Yeah.
But then we got into the flipping business, and by year 2, I think I made 20 or 30 grand. By year 3, I got into 6 figures, and by 2011 to 2015, we did 178 fix and flips in Peoria, Glendale, Anthem, and a lot of those I kept, right? I bought them myself and kept them rented. And I learned a lot about the industry. I mean, just so much about market turmoil, fixing houses, selling houses, marketing houses. And it was just great grassroots upbringing.
Yeah.
And then the real turning point came. I'm like, I can't be slaving away earning $1 the rest of my life. I got to get some passive income going. I knew interest rates were low. And so I bought my first house at 22, and that really changed the trajectory of my life because I said, I'm going to make a promise to myself. Every 2 to 3 years, I'm going to buy another piece of real estate. Don't know how, don't know when, but that's where my success came is I started buying real estate frequently, and I had a lot of really advantageous long-term debt on it.
Let me just back up for a second, though. Let's talk about the City North thing for a second. So, because people that don't know about the City North, that's like off the 101 and like 56th Street, right? Yep. That was going to be like Chanel. Yep. I mean, I remember there was going to be like all the highest Louis, Gucci, everything was going to be in there. That was going to be the new hot thing. And then, boom, it just died. It's now 2000, almost 23, and it's just now starting to kind of revive.
And then it'll die.
And then it'll die.
I was there last night, actually.
Right, but even what's there now is still like that's what's always been there, right? So they're finally starting to build over there again, though, right? And they're in more restaurant for years, a decade probably. That place could not even. I mean, they couldn't even hold a Kona grill in there, right?
But Blue Martini's still there.
That place never go out.
Some things never go out of style. But yeah. But there is a lot happening over there now. Like finally, like the developers are coming in there, like housing. I think Pulte's building in there. But anyways, I mean they're starting to build it up again. But holy cow! I mean, that being the guy that was behind that, like if there's anything that resonates with somebody like myself, when you just said that, because I didn't know that, I'm like, damn, that sucks, because that is the picture of like crash.
Oh, it got even worse. I mean, I didn't even tell you. You know, he was part owner in 4 FBOs. So he owned Glendale Airport, Yuma Airport, Deer Valley Airport. You know, we had private jets, we had planes. We had a deal with a city of Glendale where we were actually going to build a big basketball thing for USA Basketball in the Olympics with Jerry Colangelo and all that stuff, and just so many unbelievable opportunities. But again, liquidity. When a recession hits, everything goes to shit. And it doesn't matter what you think you got. You don't have anything close to what you got because you don't have the liquidity to keep it going.
Right. So your dad, okay, so when you're going to get your house and you guys are doing the flips together, at what point did your dad go, okay, I'm going to start building homes? Yeah. Not just flipping homes, because, I mean, he was a developer before, but not really.
He did a ton of home building in California, state of California. That's how he made a lot of his money in the 70s and the 80s. And so what happened was around 2014, 2015, we bought a lot in Paradise Valley for $300,000. We're like, man, this is going to be our big jump into luxury. My dad's always built luxury homes in his past, so he knew he could do it. And I'm like, okay, let's figure it out. So we did it. We built our first luxury home. Didn't kill it. You know, we did okay because the market was still anemic back then. And then we started going. And what really put me on the map as a luxury agent / home builder, I remember in 2015, this may sound strange now, but back then, if you sold a $3 million house, 2015, you were the shit.
Yeah.
Like you were at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And
that's like I was a $7 million house nowadays.
Exactly. So I was 25 years old as a primary listing agent on one of the houses that we built. And within a day of showing it, I had the ex-CEO of FedEx come in, and I had a bidding situation where a lot of people are interested in this house, and we were able to cultivate a cash offer in November of 2015 at like $3 million plus. And at that time, it was big for me because at 25 years old, I made $100,000, number one, but number two, I was the youngest primary listing agent in the state of Arizona to sell a $3 million plus home. And so I got a lot of like publicity on that and all that. I'm like, holy shit, I made it. I can do this every day. And I'm like, whoa, no, I can't. So you start to learn quickly about, you know, the hubris and the idea of all of our personal brands. It's a collective. Like, and I started realizing quickly a lot of what my dad was telling me, because he was at the top, went to the bottom, went to the top, went to the bottom. I'm like, shit, I got to do something differently. And then I realized we all fall subject to the same idealizations, you know, covers of magazines, celebrities, all this crap. And you're like, oh man, I'm the fucking man. I'm cool. I'm this, I'm that. No one's really shit unless you're helping other people, you know? And that's kind of where my turn came because I'm like, I got to do something that just doesn't only benefit myself, but like helps more people. And that's kind of where, you know, the relationship component of my life changed dramatically.
You know, it's funny you say that because like the magazine thing and like being like back in the day, like 2015, that was a big push with like the reality TV stuff, right? And you and I were always at places dressed up, and
you were dressed to kill.
Yes, and that shit meant something then, I think. And it may have helped our businesses or our careers at some point that we were doing stuff like that, but you know, it's the perception isn't always reality of like, you know, how things are. And so I remember that you had like a broker open at that house.
And
the
Ferraris, the Porsches, and this and that.
All this fancy stuff there. And it was a badass house. Very nice. But yeah, I mean, things just change. It doesn't mean that you still shouldn't want nice things and you're gonna like do nice stuff and stuff. But I think we all mature a little bit, and but at the end of the day, it also like you said, you get humbled too sometimes, and
it's taken to your knees real fast.
Yeah, take it to your knees real fast. And so right now, you guys are building communities. Like, you have a lot of stuff going on right now.
We got a lot of stuff going on. I think the key is, we're really trying to be prudent, because the truth is this. It's a balancing act. Anyone in our business, they're starting to realize like, oh shit, I can't just put a house on the market and sell it for top dollar day one. It doesn't work that way. And so now you really got to get into the weeds of what's your expenses, what's your runway, how much cash do you have on hand, and how much do you need to get through this? Because like anyone, having been through 2008 in a big way and living in a little shithole with my dad for a couple of years, I can tell you quickly, it can get worse very fast. And it's just, be prudent. Be your best self and put as much value out there as possible. See, when you asked me to do this, and I asked you to be on mine, I love stuff like this because this is the stuff people don't know, right? Yeah. And you do a collaboration, you help each other grow, you learn about one another, and you start to realize how can we benefit one another and grow. And it's not just monetarily, that will come, but it's like how do we help each other grow, our brand, our following, give people that nugget of I'm down right now, how do I get back up?
Yeah. And I think financial literacy, how old are you? 32?
33. Yeah.
So we talked about financial literacy earlier. It's like one of those things you don't always have to go through everything really badly to understand it because a lot of people make the same mistakes over and over and over again.
We all do.
But, I think we're all a little nervous right now.
Yeah.
And for us, we have a brand new business.
Yep.
We have multiple businesses. You have multiple businesses.
Yep.
You have homes being built right now.
Yeah.
You have your own traditional business going on with as an agent.
Yep.
So in order to like, I'm just trying to say this without being like weird.
Just spit it out.
Okay. Are you guys fucked or not?
Are we fucked? We're fucked. No, we're not fucked.
No, I know you guys have money. Like in order to build these projects, you got to borrow money.
Yep.
Right.
Yes. The key to the game is you have to get your financing in place as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And so for us, I look at money as a lever system, and you want to, in order to become wealthy, I studied this a lot in my 20s because I wanted to become a millionaire as soon as possible. And I say that loosely because I'm like, oh, if I'm a millionaire, that doesn't mean shit in today's world. We're all that on paper in theory because of equity and our deals. Right. But in reality, very few people have $1 million liquid in cash, right? Yeah. The issue becomes, it's like, what do you do? How do you navigate the potholes? Because let's say we're at war, right? We are. Every day we get up, we're battling to make a deal. We're battling to make $1. And there's proximity mines going off, grenades getting thrown at us, people yelling at us. I mean, you're in battle. Yeah. And the thing is, you have to be calm. The calm person who thinks rationally always gets the deal. You have to be patient. A lot of people move way too quickly without thinking rationally about what they're doing. And you just have to be true to your value system. And really, I looked at my dad and what he had that I really so far looked up to him as far as business. He was just cool. The whole world could be just crumbling around. He's like, no, we're going to get up tomorrow. We're going to work and we're going to do our thing. And I'm like, that's the mark of a leader because so few people can deal with the complexities and the ups and the downs and the this and the that. It's tough. The biggest thing people don't talk about in our industry is mental health. Yeah. Because I'll tell you, when you're used to making a lot of money and then like, let's say your income gets cut in half or to a third, you're like, oh, fuck, I'm not as cool as I thought I was. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so you start to realize quickly, like you got to fall back on those foundational principles that you have in your life. And for me, I always look at not how much I earn, but how much do I earn passively, consistently, every single month. And if I can grow that drip, safely over the long term, and that drip continues to grow and grow and grow and grow, you're going to be safe. Yeah. And that's always been my goal in my early 20s. And it really helped me because by 27, I had $1 million net worth through equity in homes. Right. And then it grew substantially with the big move up in the last 2 years. And then now, everyone's like, oh, I got this, I got that. Dude, you don't have shit because your property is going down in value right now.
Exactly.
But the key is like, how much liquidity do people have? And so many wealthy people get caught with their pants down because they don't have enough drip every single month.
So how many properties do you have now that you, like your personal properties that you own on your own?
So currently, right at this particular moment, I have 4. And then because I haven't closed on the deal that I'm building myself, so I'll have 5. But again, it's a shuffleboard game, and it's like, if this happens, I do this. If that happens, I do this. And it's always like, what's A, B, C, D? One of the best quotes I heard is, when you wake up in the morning, it's like you have 900 doors in front of you. And you have to pick one. And that one could be the wrong door. And most likely it will be. But you have to go through every corridor to see if that one fits your personality and fits your needs. And if it doesn't, you have to have the balls to say, oh, that was the wrong one. Go back to the beginning and start again. Yeah. And so many people can't do it. They just keep doubling down good money after bad money and think, oh, it's going to turn, it's going to turn. It doesn't, and they implode.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think that for young people, especially listening, like the idea of having passive income is something that I wish that I would have gotten into very young. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't start till I was older. Yeah. Which, I mean, it's still fine. I'm trying to make up for all that. Yeah. But I think it brings up a good point. It's like, it's not about going out and buying the fancy watches and the cars and stuff as much as it is going in, like, you have to kind of get, like, you get the high on investments.
100%.
It's no longer the clothes. It's no longer the shit you're doing. It's like, oh my God, I can't wait to buy this next project, this next deal.
You have to
become a deal.
You have to get the same high off that as you would buying a Lambo or Ferrari or whatever. And the thing is this: we live in a very temporal world. People judge us based on our looks. Doesn't matter. Beautiful woman walks in the room. Yeah. The whole room stands still. A good-looking guy walks in the room who's well-dressed. Every guy is like, who the F is this guy? Right. They're all puffing up their chest, trying to be cool, And we all have those insecurities, right? But people judge us based on outside perception. So in sales, which is probably the most lucrative idea you could have in business to make earned income, it's you have to look the part. If you want to sell a $5, $6, $7, $8 million house, you got to be in that world. You got to understand what they walk, what they wear, what they talk, where they travel, what they're driving, what their watches are, their clothes, all those things. Because I always say this to people: if you really want to become successful, you have to understand this thing really easily. It's called SCC, right? It's not Scottsdale Community College. S stands for you have to be able to tell a story. Yeah. When I first met you, the thing that really resonated with you is like you reminded me of like Steve McQueen or something. Like, you're cool. Dude, it's cool. Because you have charisma.
Oh my God.
No, you had charisma, right? And I'm like, dude, this guy. And I didn't know, like, as a young guy, I didn't know how to take it because you were older, you were successful. I'm like, am I jealous of this guy? Am I pissed off at this guy? Do I not like this guy?
Do you try to be his friend?
Yeah, you try to be his friend, right? And so, you get one step in, 2 steps out. You don't know, right? And as a guy going to another guy, you just don't know how to, like, interact with him. But then I realized, like, there's that, like, je ne sais quoi people have of being able to tell a story, right? And that's the first thing. If you can tell a story, your story. You know how to, like, say that to others in a fun, positive way, which you do. And I'm trying to learn it too. That's the first step, right? If you got a story down, you're ahead of most people. Right. The second thing is when you interact with people at a high level in sales, you got to find commonality quickly. You like basketball? Shit, I love basketball. Oh, you like making money? Oh, you like watches? Yeah. I like watches. It's commonality because that's the glue that'll attach that relationship for further interactions. And then last but not least, that last C is conversion. And when you hear conversion, like, that's sleazy effing salesperson trying to fucking convert. But that's not what it is. What it is, it's like, how are we going to win with each other? Yeah. Like, the whole point of us coming here is I want to make you better. You want to make me better. That's a win-win. Yeah. That's a conversion. Like, we're helping one another grow. Yeah. And if more people looked at relationships like that, like, oh, you got this contact, I got this contact, let's put them together, boom, 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 we're good. The world's going to be a better place.
I think that we both have the similarities of people. We tend to like a lot of people that maybe not everybody likes, and it doesn't mean that they don't like them because they're bad people. Right. They like them because people judge those people.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we both can be like judged incorrectly on who we are, and but at the end of the day, we're both normal people that are nice guys that are trying to do things, and the perception's, again, not always the reality, and we're both going through. We both struggle on plenty of different things, and I think everybody in this business does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a human business, and sales, even though the most lucrative, is also the most deadly.
Yeah.
And it's those things where people don't understand. Like, there's another quote I really love because it resonates with both of our businesses. It's like, pretend you're a racehorse, right? Like Ryan Madrid is fucking Seabiscuit. You're in there. And the gun goes off and you're running, right? It's the Kentucky Derby. You're running. This is how I felt my whole life. I'm just running my ass off trying to win this race. And you have blinders on. You can't see the other horses. All you can see is when you look up, you see this horse way ahead of you. So you're behind. You're like, oh, fuck, dude. That guy is way ahead of me. He's way richer. He's way more successful. He's better. He's got the girl. He's got whatever, right? He's got the car. You're running, and you put your head down, and you run across the finish line, and all the confetti and everything goes out, and they said, Ryan, you won. It's like, well, how the hell did I win? That guy was way ahead of me. I said, oh, no, you were a lap ahead of that guy the whole time. You just didn't even know it.
Wow.
That's life.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where it gets very dangerous, where you start looking at other people trying to compare, oh, they sold that listing. Oh, shit, they got that deal. It's like, that has no bearing on that individual person. Look at their marriage. Look at their personal life. Look at their divorces. Look at their kids. Look at all these things that people don't value, and they should, because the most human thing in our business is relationships.
Yeah.
And when you really put a lot of effort into being present, like I was really looking forward to this because I haven't seen you in like a long time. Right. It's probably been a year plus, you know what I mean? And I just like being present with people and like feeling that energy. It like hypes me up. It's like fuel.
Dude, so going back to like when you have like a listing, and I want to go back to like the whole, like you have to play the part, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I've completely kind of like flip-flopped a little bit. Like I've gone away from like the super fancy. I still like to dress nice, but I'm going away from like the suits and all this stuff all the time. And I feel like, it's kind of gone that way for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because of COVID or whatever, right? But, when you go to a listing in Silverleaf, there's a lot of times that guy was a farmer.
Oh, yeah.
That guy wasn't a freaking, he wasn't or he was just a tech guy. That was a nerd, right? He's not wearing freaking Prada suits and Gucci loafers and driving a Lamborghini. He might be driving a Toyota freaking 4Runner, right? So when you come into, this is me judging on the other side, because I look at like the, like some of the guys on the TV, right? But like, I look at Andrew Beardsley, right? Let's talk about Andrew Beardsley.
Yeah.
He's pretty normal, dude.
Yeah,
He's
cool
not
dude.
dressing up, too much. And then you have the full-blown suits, ties, you show up in the thing to a listing appointment. Those people are going to battle just like everybody else when you're going into to list that house or be a buyer's agent for that person.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think if you're going to buy a $5 million or $10 million house, you're probably going to want the person that understands the wealth.
100%.
Am I right on that?
100%.
Okay, so
story and commonality.
Right. So, you can wear the jeans if you want to. You can wear a button-up polo if you want to. But when you're dealing with that sort of money, now you're dealing with a house that's for $700,000. You got agents show up in shorts.
Yeah.
And they're, then that might work just fine with the person looking for those things, because a $700 house now is a $300,000 house, and surprise, it used to be, right? Not anymore probably, because last month it's probably all gone down hundreds of thousands of dollars. But not that much. But.
So I have a story that goes along with that. So when I was in real estate out in Verrado, right, there was not much there at the time, but we sold custom lots.
Yeah.
And a ton of farmers, right? All of a sudden were multi-millionaires, and some of especially the wives were like, okay.
Because Verrado was built on their land.
Yeah. They used to say they farm real estate, right? So the wives, a lot of them, at least the ones I knew, were like jockeying to get off the farm and like go live a nice.
Go to Arcadia.
But they didn't want to be that far away from the farm, right? So Verrado was kind of a nice option for them.
Right.
And I remember there was one guy that walked in, muddy boots, like a stained shirt, a dirty cowboy hat, the whole 9 yards. And there were a couple people I worked with that were like, "Oh, you can take him," right? I wasn't even the up, but they were like, "Yeah, go ahead." Yeah. It was like the first $1.5 million house I popped, you know, and he turned out to be the nicest guy.
Did he buy like multiple houses for like his?
Yeah, and I was like, dude, like. That's like the dumbest thing to judge, especially out in Buckeye, you know?
yeah, Buckeye, you cannot judge a book like that.
Like his brother built like a $3.8 million house, and like it led to all kinds of stuff. And I was dressed in probably a pencil skirt and heels and, you know, a button up or anything. It wasn't like I was wearing a full blown suit, but next time I met with them, I was in jeans and they just liked me, right? Not the salesy person.
You could calibrate. I think the biggest thing in sales, it's really, especially high ticket sales, because like in my relationship business, I'll sell $10,000, $15,000 tickets. The first thing you always have to do, and I think this is important, people listening in, it's like, first of all, you have to get what is out on the table. First thing I always say is, hey, this isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
It's expensive. Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, fuck, I don't know. Well, then this isn't for you.
Yeah.
Let's just, you're cool. It's cool. No problem. But if you are cool with it, let me tell you why this is going to change the trajectory of your life. And I think what you talked about, which was so poignant, is the ability to calibrate and learn. Again, your story now paralleled his. You dressed down to match him. Mm-hmm. You spoke probably in the same vernacular as him. You related to him on a base level of like, oh, this is a good guy. I'm a good person too. That's how people connect. They connect through story and commonality. And so if you're able to calibrate based on your client, you're going to do a lot more deals, but you got to be authentic. Mm-hmm. So many people pretend to be someone they're not. For me, I like dressing up.
Yeah.
Probably to mask my own insecurity. Like if I'm wearing an expensive watch and dressed well, I feel good about myself. Yeah. And that's projected better with other people. And if
I told you he was a good dude.
That's the truth. That's the truth. You do it to become your most authentic self. If you can pull all the barriers down and be like, hey, I'm insecure, I'm jealous, I got problems just like you. Yeah. Everyone does.
Yeah.
But if you can say, this is my armor, like, maybe your golf shirt's your armor, maybe my suit's my armor, then do it if it best suits you.
Yeah. So let's pivot then. So this is kind of getting into the Millionaire Date Doctor sort of like life. And there's a thing floating there. So let's get into like that a little bit because it's a cool story too, and how that all started.
Yeah.
And I know the story, so why don't you just tell the story?
Well, it goes back to growing up. I didn't really realize how many issues I had with relationships growing up because I idolized, the stars, right? I had a concept called follow the stars, meaning if you had like Hollywood, like if you like Steve McQueen, if you like Paul Newman, if you liked Rock Hudson, whoever you liked, right?
He's such an old soul. He's 33 years old. He's talking about dudes that like our parents.
But they were icons, they were icons, right? Yeah. And so you look at the old to because all that stuff, that's why they were that famous, right? Yeah. They had something about them that was unique. And so I look at all that stuff and I'm like, how do you become that, right? I mean, I watched Titanic 100 times. And it wasn't because of the plot. It was to study Leonardo DiCaprio and how he's getting all these girls. Right, I mean, that's why I watched it. I'm like, this guy is smooth, man.
He's the best.
Yeah, like George Clooney, Out of Sight. You ever see that scene between him and J-Lo, like in the trunk or in that like Detroit bar? There is so many things you can learn, right? Or I show my clients Ryan Gosling in what was that movie he did?
With Rachel McAdams.
Yeah. There's a lot of them, right? Where you can learn so much by the confidence and the subtleties in people, and it's those little things that make a big difference. And so how I got in the relationship business was. My mom came to me after a 5-year relationship. This is back in 2013. And she's like, I really want to date online. I'm like, fuck, that is a waste of fucking time. Perverts, guys in their basement.
You're like, I'm on online. Mom.
It's like, no, that's a bad idea. But she was down. Like she was really melancholy. She was sad. She was, and it's having been in a serious relationship, you've been in the same boat where you're just like, that takes you to your knees emotionally. Like, when someone says, hey, I'm out, or you say you're out, it's tough. It's really tough. And you don't realize like the reverberations that come along with it in months and years to come. there's triggers. And so for my mom, I'm like, I'm her son. I want to help her. And so I said, we're going to do this like a business. I said, you want to learn how to date? I want to learn how to date. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I said, but you got to listen to me, right? I'm going to do your profile. I'm going to have my guys come in and take your photos. I'm going to do everything. And we did. And within 6 months, she became one of the top 10 most searched women in the United States on an online dating platform for her age group. Mm-hmm. And that was in the mid to high 50s. And then a lot of her girlfriends came calling. And then after that, my buddy RC, who you may have met, who's my partner in the business,
guy, right?
The tax guy, yep. Been friends with him since 15. He said, you got to turn this into a business. And I said, okay, cool. I wanted to learn about it. My dad said, well, no one's going to take you seriously. You got to write a book. So I said, fuck it, I'll write a book. So we wrote a book in 2017. We've sold about 19,000 copies to date.
Wow.
A lot of audibles, tons of audibles. And it was so interesting, Ryan, because I remember going out when I was 27, 28 when that came out. And I had so many haters. Like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, he's never been married. He doesn't know anyone. He doesn't know anything. He's never been with a hot girl. He doesn't know anything. Totally clueless. And I got a lot of bad reviews and a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
About a year later, I get an email from this girl from Melbourne, Australia. I mean, it gives me chills talking about it. And she said, a girlfriend of mine brought your book to me on vacation in Australia, and I read it. And I just have to tell you, I got out of a really tumultuous marriage. He was abusive, and your book helped change the trajectory of my life. Thanks for writing. I'm like, holy shit.
Wow.
That was worth it.
Yeah.
And it's just those one things when you're and this is what I want to tell people too, like when you're in the deepest, darkest doldrums of your life, the storms are brewing, there'll be a shining light that says keep on going. And that one thing, I'm like, oh, this is worth doing. If I helped one, it's worth doing. And then from 2013, I was begging, borrowing, stealing, trying to sell this program for $100 to like my friend. She's like, no, it's not worth it. I'll give you 50. Yeah. And I'm like, this is bullshit. This is a terrible business plan. But then I got really good at high ticket sales and low volume, and I was able to charge $10,000, $15,000 for the same product.
Really? So did you create like a workshop?
So we have a book, which is our lowest price point entry. We have an online course, which is our mid-range price point entry, which is about $3,000, and then we have one-on-one coaching with me, which is $10,000 to $15,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the average demographic of like
older? So the average demographic is 40 plus because they have the means to do it.
Yep.
Men
and women?
Men and women, a lot of divorcees. Mm-hmm. And what they're really trying to do is the whole adage of what we try to create is in business, it's the same as your personal life. If your personal life is in disarray, your business is going to be shit. I'll just save you the suspense.
It's true.
It's 100% true.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have your personal life in check, you are going down.
Yeah.
And so for me, my thought process was I want to create people to become the best version of themselves so they can attract the best in others. And that's not just in their partner or their wife or their spouse or their husband. That's in life.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you do the work on yourself, you're a nicer person, you work out, you try to help people the way you know how. A lot of things are going to enter your life that you're like, holy shit, like how'd this happen? And it's just mind changing.
I have a buddy that's and you know who you are, Scott. He'll never be in a long-term relationship. And he's in his 50s at this point. But he always says to me, it's like, his like dating life is just like super
roller coaster ride, yeah.
Because when he's like killing it, personal wise, he murders it with like in like the relationship standpoint. Like
sales are down, when relationship shit.
When market's tough, things are not good.
Yep.
Man, dude, life's not good, and the dating life's down because people can sense energy, right?
Yeah.
And
if you look at Fortune 500, 75% of them are married. Yeah. That's not by chance. That's because if you have a real stable emotional presence to go home to, you're going to be more successful because now you can focus your energy outward to create movement. You know what I mean? And a lot of people marriage is tough. There is no way around it. Everyone's like, oh, you don't promote marriage. I said, it's not that I don't promote marriage.
Yeah.
It's I promote healthy relationships. If marriage is right for you, great, do it. But I know the statistics.
Yeah.
Statistics will blow you away. After your first marriage, you have a 53% chance of divorce. After your second, it goes up to 71.
Yeah.
Your third, it's 75. That's bad odds.
I mean, dude, I've even heard worse. Okay, so, like I had heard that obviously it's 51% chance of getting. So it's like 1 in 2 chances you're going to get a divorce. And then 76, and I heard like it was like 92 if you're on your third, right? Yeah. I mean, it just depends where you get where they do the surveys, but long-term relationships seem to last longer.
Yeah.
And but again, what do we know on that aspect? It's just, I think promoting long-term relationships is healthy.
I agree. And having a partner that you trust and that you really like adore and look up to, the biggest thing I learned having dated a lot and been in serious committed relationships is this. Looks fade. What doesn't fade is your disposition. Yeah. So if you have that cool thing where you can just hang and gel with each other, you are way ahead of most people and drama-free. Take that guy or girl and run with them to the altar. You know what I mean?
Totally. Because, we were both single when we first met and hanging out and stuff, and it's like you kind of tear through town and do, what you think is like cool,
and it's not,
and it gets really
empty.
Boring.
Yeah, it's boring. Right? It's empty. It's emotionally tough, and it makes you look at yourself and realize, like, I just want a really good partner that I can uplift and they can uplift me, and a lot less drama. Yeah. It's like, as men, and you know this too, and women too, we're fighting battles daily. Like making $1 is tough.
Yeah.
Really tough, and it's going to get harder. Yeah. but
it's getting harder.
The positive is now you revamp your thought process to say, okay, that's cool. What can I focus on now? My kids, my spouse or my significant other, or the food, or the conversation. Like this shit I love. I love conversation. I love talking to people and having insightful conversations. It's like food for the soul that gives you confidence in yourself to go out and help more people. I love that stuff.
I've gotten really okay. Go for it.
So what you were just saying reminds me of Ryan Gosling in Crazy Stupid Love.
Yep,
right.
I love that movie
because he was just a douchebag.
Yep.
Right, and then he meets Emma Stone, and all of a sudden he becomes a nice guy, and
What was the movie that he was in with Rachel McAdams? The most
Notebook.
The Notebook.
That's a great one.
It's
classic.
I've seen that like 100 times.
So I was going to say, what's happening to me, because I'm 48 now.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm focusing on like my own personal like future wealth and stuff, but I've gotten like way more into figuring out how to set my kids up for the future.
I like that.
Just because I think about all the things that I wish I would have done.
Yeah.
And to think, okay, I got, a 16, 17, 19, 20-year-old. Plus I have nephews or nieces and nephews and stuff like too, right?
Those are a lot of mouths to feed.
So Trey gets the beauty. He gets to sit in through all these, right? And he listens to a lot of people like you that are good at that are younger,
right?
That have financial like wisdom,
right?
And I think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but like, it gives maybe him a little bit. When Trisha, I'm sure you take some things out of this as well, because I know I do. When I leave, going like, okay, some of the things like, wow, okay, I want to ask you right now. Do you ever sit over there and go, shit, I need to do that, or hey, that's something that I want to do, and it's so my thought process has kind of become like, okay, how am I going to set up my family, so to speak, or just give them the opportunities to like understand things and go, okay, do they need a universal life insurance plan, right?
Yeah.
Are they saving a certain amount of money, or do they understand compound interest?
Yeah.
Right. When are they going to be? At what age are they going to buy their first home? And am I going to help them buy their first home? Right. And from there, they're going to understand what that entails. Are they going to have people living with them? Are they going to, their friends going to pay for their rent? When are they going to buy their second house? So they're all way ahead of me by the time they're 30.
Yeah, we didn't grow up with that. I mean, our parents were awesome, but we didn't discuss like that ever.
Yeah, it's corporate America.
No, you're 100. It's so interesting because every successful person you see in life, they had someone give them a chance, and they had them give them wisdom. And when I was young, I mean, I was obsessed with wealthy people, and I had access to them. So I was really lucky where a lot of people didn't. And I thought, I got to be rich. And it like consumed my mind in a negative way.
Yeah.
And then I realized it's like, you just have to be yourself, but make smart choices. And what people don't realize is there's a real simple success formula to become wealthy. And I hope people listening in take notes. The first is you have to earn your income. Right. The first 5 years out of college, go to college if you can. You don't have to anymore, but earn a high paying job out of the gate. And the first thing you need to do is you have to convert earned income into passive as quickly as possible without taking on short-term high-interest debt. And the easiest way to grow wealth is real estate. Yeah. I know this because I have talked to many, many, many multimillionaire guys who are as dumb as a box of rocks. And what they did is they acquired a lot of real estate. But what they did is the biggest regret a lot of them have is selling. And the second biggest regret that they have is not acquiring more. Because if you really look over the long term, what real estate has, especially income producing real estate, whether that be a house, an apartment project, an office building, whatever, it is the only asset class that you can take $1, leverage it safely into $5, have someone pay you and pay off that note over a long period of time, and inflation is with you. So it will go up in value. The question is how much, how long? And last but not least, it is the most tax advantaged asset class in our tax code in the U.S. Yeah. So again, if you really want to study wealth in the safest way, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, this coin, that coin, whatever coin, doesn't matter what coin you're in, if it's not a hard asset and it's not paying you monthly, it's probably the wrong first step for you to do. Now, as you make more money, you can diversify around. But wealth is built simply. Low debt. The only debt you should have is debt that's helping you grow your income and making more money and creating a sustainable, growing passive income stream for you and your family.
I mean, so buying a house, right? It not only, I think people think of just like the equity, right? Having somebody live in that house, pay, not only is it hopefully gaining equity, but it's also being paid down by somebody else. Correct. Right? So you're kind of doing this, right? And over time, hopefully this is what's happening.
Well, and you're paying a lot less tax. So it's interesting. I remember when I was looking, because I really wanted to study this. I'm like, how did I make this much money from 22 to 27, all on paper? And it was because I was making 6 figures a year and I wasn't paying taxes on it because I was depreciating that asset against that income, and it was just wiped each other out. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm slaving away trying to make $100,000 plus a year hawking a house to Bill and Charlie. Right. When I'm making the same thing, just getting out of bed, collecting a check. I'm like, I got to buy more of this stuff. And that was the change.
So did your education, since you have a pretty impressive educational resume, did you learn a lot of this, or did you just experience it? Okay.
Yeah. You know what I learned, and this is what's interesting about going to really high-end schools and stuff. Everyone focus, I went to Harvard, I went to here, I went to there. That's cool. But what they don't teach you is how to interact with people. That people skill and understanding how to leverage your ability with people to acquire hard assets with people and to sustain in the long term. So many people fail in business because right when they're about to succeed, they quit. And they don't understand time horizons. Real estate is a 30-year time horizon, not a 1 year, 2 year, I'm going to buy this house, fix it up, flip it. Oh shit, I lost my, it's just, you can't time that. Yeah. No one can. Yeah. But if you want to look over the next 30 years, I was telling all my agents this, I said, look, you guys want to be a multimillionaire? Give me 10 years. And in 10 years, if you do exactly what I tell you in the real estate market, I guarantee you, if you don't F up and do something drastically wrong, you will be a multimillionaire. You know how many of them actually did it? One.
Zip zero.
Because they didn't act. They didn't do exactly what I told them to do, and they get lulled by the Ocean 44s, the Steak 44s, the Rolexes, my Mercedes payment, my AMG. Yeah. That stuff does not acquire legacy wealth for you and your family. It acquires a distraction.
Yeah. It's so tough, though, not to have those things.
I love them. But I'll tell you this, it's funny because everyone's like, oh, I had a lot of nice cars, Porsche convertible. I had an Aston Martin EV9 at 26. Right. Yeah, and everyone's like, what the hell do you have this car? I'm like, because it makes me feel good. Yeah. And I started driving. I'm like, 2,000 here, 1,000 here. I'm like, fuck, I'm losing my... I'm like, let's dump this thing.
Yeah. I think that there's something to be said, though. It's like enjoying your life, too. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be all the material stuff, but it provides the opportunity to go do things, right? And like we talked about your trips and stuff, and I love to get out of town as well. And I like to go to have like nice dinners and go to nice places and stuff. And a lot of time it's like I like to go there just with my friends.
The experience.
The experience.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I could probably just go those same exact people to a different restaurant that was a lot less. But you enjoy the environment, you enjoy like the experience. So
you gotta reward yourself. It's discipline. What I did, you hit the nail on the head when you introduced me. This guy had early success, and I did. I was lucky because I hit a bull market, and I borrowed a lot of money at a young age, and I put it into real estate. That was my success point. I didn't sell anything. That was my other success point. And now, we're going through the turn, and people in our industries, everyone related to residential real estate is feeling tightening, right? It's that noose coming in around you. And everyone pretends, oh, it's good, bro. We're going to come out of it. Some will. Some won't.
Yeah. That is the truth. And in some aspects, it's kind of nice to see. It's like, it would be nice to kind of see a little bit of it shrink, right? Not so many people doing exactly what it is we do. And then, we'll see what happens, and the strong will survive, and hopefully everybody's okay at the end of the day.
You know what I like too is it really refocuses you on what matters the most. Ironically, which is weird, like the more money I had, the more I chased money. Mm-hmm. The less money I've had or the less income I've had consistently, the more I chase what matters in life. Great relationship, friends, conversations, dinners, eating at home, cooking, time with parents, like all those things. I'm telling you, the wealthiest guys I've talked to, billionaires. I mean, I've met like 12 billionaires. Not many people have done that. Deca millionaires, all these rich guys, they go back to the basics because they realize chasing that next digit does absolutely nothing for their legacy or for their self-help. Nothing.
Yeah. Trish?
Rapid fire question?
Yeah.
We haven't done one yet.
Get ready.
I'm ready.
All right. So if you could be in another industry, non-real estate, non-dating, what would it be?
Actor.
I am not shocked.
We're all on a show, baby.
Okay. So along those lines then, what is your favorite movie?
That's a tough one. I was a film minor, so it's tough to answer that. Let's just say Gladiator. Love the story, love the acting, love the music.
Ugh, that's such a good one. Yeah. That's always in my top 5. All right, what's your top 5? Hey, this is actually a really good conversation piece, by the way. I like to do these sometimes when at dinners and stuff when things are just kind of like dull and the conversations aren't going well. Everybody give me your top 5. And it's amazing how like
they're all
the
different.
Conversation starts based upon people's answers. But
Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Die Hard, Titanic, Gladiator, To Catch a Thief, Grace Kelly. There's a lot of great ones. Yeah. James Dean. There are so many good movies in the past that people overlook in our generation. Marlon Brando was an unbelievable actor. I mean, you see him in The Godfather. You see him in some of these movies. Like it'll just On the Waterfront. It'll blow you away how he's able to just bring out information on screen. Steve McQueen. Yeah. There's a reason that guy's the king of cool. He's cool, man.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of people can't watch older movies. Yeah. They don't like even like the 90s cinematography, right? It's, you know what I mean? Trey's a film student. It's slow. Where he graduated from film school.
So you got Bad Boys, Michael Bay in 95, then it was fast.
But
it's interesting that you listed a lot of like blockbusters and not a lot of like art house film. Not saying that.
Diving Bell and the Butterfly. That's a great French film.
And there you go, Trish.
Yeah. You know why that's a good one? Quickly, because it was a true story. The guy was like the editor-in-chief of Rolling Stone, had an unbelievable life, had a stroke. All he could do was blink. And he was in his deathbed. He died eventually. But what he did is he wrote a book by blinking. And it revisited points in his life where he had meaning, whether it be his affairs, his marriage, his successes, his failures, and it just blows you away how fragile we all are at this time point.
Jeez. What's it called?
Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Great movie. Art house film.
You seen it, Trey?
Oh, you have. Good one.
I'm telling you, this kid.
He's a stud.
He knows his shit. Yeah. So, in not just real estate, but so do you get presented with other opportunities for other business, like deals and stuff? I mean, do you get into like, you know, someone says, hey, dude, I'm doing an apartment complex deal over here, or I got a commercial deal over here, or I've got something else going on, and
Michael, you had a hard stop at 10:40.
Oh, we can do one question.
Okay.
Yeah, one more.
okay.
Yeah, I get presented with deals all the time. I mean, the biggest thing is I don't invest in things I don't understand. If I don't know it, I haven't done it, I can't take that risk because I'm in the game to win, not to lose, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I know what works and what doesn't. And to be honest with you, a lot of people in our industry, and me included, are like, shit, did I choose the right industry?
Dude, I do that all the time. This is my third industry, and I'm still like, this is a great industry. But,
It is.
You know,
Yeah,
you know.
it's good, the bad, and it's the learning. You know, and that's the thing is like this will, like anything else, be an opportunity, or it'll be the dogma of your life. The question is, how do you see it, right? And if you look at it positively as an opportunity, you're going to be very successful.
Yeah. I will end it on that.
So what's the name of your
Except for
podcast?
this.
I got a few. The one I'm going on next is Millionaire Brand Creation, actually.
Okay, I watched a couple of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually searched for that today, and I couldn't find it.
Oh,
Just
it's
search
all over.
Michael Banovac.
Yeah.
Oh, that should have been an easy way of doing it.
Yeah.
I actually did do that, by the way.
There was a link in your show notes, I think, in your preview notes.
Anyways, all right. Well, hey, ending on that one, we'll go check that out. Say it again. What's it called?
Millionaire Brand Creation.
Millionaire Brand Creation.
Yeah, I got in the next month actually, and I got some really successful guys that I know in the venture capital space. Another buddy of mine founded Credit.com, super wealthy dude. And it's like, how do we help entrepreneurs become more successful and just learning and hearing their story? And that's what I love what you're doing. I mean, you guys have had some great guests on, and kudos to you.
I appreciate that. I think one of the things we really wanted to do was not just talk about real estate. We wanted to talk about people's lives and situations and other industries and all that sort of
100%.
stuff. And so,
Yeah, this was almost exactly like the formula. Like we were talking about like Shay earlier, right?
Yeah.
But the reason his episode was so amazing is it was authentic, and there was, the hero's journey.
Yep.
And you have a very similar,
not quite.
not quite as
with cocaine.
severe. Right. I guess.
That you know of.
Yeah, not the drugs, but like the watching your dad go through all that.
Yeah.
That's what's interesting, and it's story.
It's
Yeah.
story.
No, dude. Well, thanks again for coming
Thank
on.
you. Appreciate
it, dude.
you,
And
man.
We're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it. I am gonna be on his here in this month too, which is good. I do want to be on more podcasts. I think it's good for our brand. So we're trying to
Love it.
venture out.
Thanks
So
for
we
the
appreciate
opportunity,
you
guys.
asking me. So thanks again to everybody that's watches Into the Storm. You can check us out on all the podcast platforms. Again, you can go to YouTube, Into the Storm. Please like and subscribe, share with all your friends. Again, thanks, Jay. Thanks, Trisha. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Thanks, Bison Adventures and VIP Mortgage. We'll see you all soon. Thanks.
See you guys.